Hello, welcome back. Magandang gabi. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this second episode of UAPGA's Archillax podcast, a podcast where we talk about architecture, professional practice, and beyond. We are your hosts for tonight. I am Jasmine Guadno.
And I am Angela Di Castro. Archillax ka muna, tara, usap tayo. This episode is brought to you by Davies Paints Philippines Incorporated. In partnership with KLIK Media Group, DALA Manila, by BRB, artcaravan.ph, Reverse Drinkware, and our national partners, ArcStudio, Foundree, JPT Review Center, and Ramdex Review and Seminars. Also, special thanks to architect Alan Lampot for inviting our guest for today.
So please come and join us in our kwentuhan this evening. Feel free to comment and tag your friends and colleagues, and even your non-architect peers who plan to work abroad to join us tonight with our globally known guests. And if you have any questions, wonders, just send them through our comment section and we'll try to answer them at the end of each segment. Before we introduce our guests, let us know first what our graduates intend to do after getting their degree. Ikaw ba, Angela? Anong balak mo after your degree?
Well, since I am a freshman, I always have been curious what lies ahead, no? In architecture school. Especially that schools are considered as our training grounds. At iba talaga yung may experience mo outside that comfort zone on the actual field of profession, which we are being prepared for, ika nga. And how about you, Ate Jazz? Do you have any plans to go abroad or to stay and pursue your goal here in the Philippines?
Yes, of course. I do have plans to work abroad, but of course, I want to learn here in the Philippines first. But it's not final since a lot of things can happen. Iba-iba rin talaga.
Mm-hmm. And yes, it is a fact that graduates do not take the same steps after they graduated, and some apply to architectural design or construction fields to immediately get that license that we always dream of. And actually, some students even go abroad even before they take their license here in the Philippines, right?
Yes, making me think about the idea of working overseas. Even just the thought of it seems engaging, yet overwhelming at times. It gives us so much excitement. You know, the adrenaline rushes and idealistic because you get to experience what it's like working in a different setting you were not used to. Angela, aren't you curious about what you could get and learn from having to practice outside your comfort zone in abroad?
Yes, at dahil sobrang curious na ako. Why don't you grab your coffee, guys, and have a seat, relax, and while you tune in with us in our tonight's UAPGA's Archillax live podcast, Architecture Life Abroad, we'll dig into successful and inspiring stories of architects who dared to venture career opportunities that await them overseas, expanding their horizons and building the nation's reputation across borders.
Joining us tonight, all the way from the Middle East, is a senior associate of Godwin Austin Johnson in United Arab Emirates. Being a member of International Royal Institute of British Architects, member of United Architects of the Philippines, integrated and accredited professional organization of architects, leadership in energy and environmental design Green Associate. She was hailed as Architect of the Year in 2019 by the Filipino Times in UAE and recently awarded as the Middle East Consultants Awards Woman in Construction Professional of the Year and Dubai Supermom Award 2021. It's a lot. Let's all welcome architect Christina Espinosa Erlanda.
And joining her tonight is an associate professor from School of Design and Architecture in Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Dubai, awarded as the best professor in traditional architecture studies in the Abu Dhabi Education Leadership Awards in 2019, and having part of various exhibitions featuring his watercolor paintings in numerous countries including UAE, Italy, and Malaysia. We have Dr. Saji Kanachara Paniker. And yes, welcome to our dear guest. Would you like to say hi to our viewers and listeners out there? Starting off with Architect Christine.
Hello, good evening, Philippines. Hello, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, it's a privilege to be in here with all of you. Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, hello everyone.
And how about you, Dr. Saji? And
Yes, hi.
yes,
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Shaji.
Great. Hello everyone in Philippines, and thanks a lot for having me on this show. And I'm also kind of nervous, but I'll try.
All right. Thank you for your greetings, Architect. It's such an honor to have you both join us tonight. Before we dive right into our topic, I just want to ask our architects, how have you been, guys? What are you up lately? What keeps you busy these days? Besides from architecture.
Dr. Shaji? Probably here. Should you
They
start
say
off?
ladies first, right? They say
Oh,
ladies
okay.
first.
Okay, cool. Recently, of course in the office quite busy and working on projects in the office. I am also preparing for next week. I am a guest speaker for the Philippine Green Building Conference 2021 that will happen next. It's actually ongoing. It's a month-long conference of the leaders and also leaders in sustainability and professionals in the Philippines and globally. So I will be there as a guest speaker by Friday. At the same time, quite busy with my family. I've got family, of course, and also yeah, training. I've got few interns and training them. It's yeah, life goes on, and it's also preparing for Christmas. We all have this very long Christmas thing happening, so nothing can stop that. Not even COVID. So cool.
Yeah.
And Dr. Shaji, how have you
Well,
been?
yes, our semester has begun, and we are getting our first batch of the architecture students tomorrow. So I'm as excited as any teacher would be to find out who these students are and how would we teach them and how do we take this, course with them. At the same time, I'm also kind of chairing a session in a conference which is happening in India at an international level. So I'm preparing for that. That's something that's on my mind right now. But at the same time, I also cook, and so I'm thinking of what to cook tomorrow. Maybe
Oh, that's great.
I have my family here. I have two sons, so yeah, like Christine said, life must go on.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So moving on, due to the globalization of the economy, practicing architecture is not anymore limited in just one setting. Nowadays, there are so many architects practicing in the profession in other countries, such as Architect Christine and Dr. Saji here. And also, I'm sure that there are so many of our listeners who are still in that phase of deciding where to pursue their careers after taking the architecture licensure exam or even immediately after graduating.
Yes, but don't worry, guys. We got you on our first segment, Architecture Overseas. Our guests have such an established career in the Middle East, despite being a foreigner to that country, and pretty sure they did not get all of those success in just a snap. Listening to us tonight are probably students, graduates, or even professionals who are deciding whether to pursue architectural careers overseas or not. So, a question for both of our guests tonight: what was your mindset after architecture school? Was it really a part of your plan to work abroad? And can you please share with us your experiences? Starting off with Architect Christine, we heard that you were featured in TFC. And in this shot, it seems like you're s- amidst of a skis or revision. Can you tell us about it, Architect
Yeah.
Christine?
So first off, I'd like to answer the question that you had. Well, okay, let's go to this image. This is a I was featured as a kabayan, global kabayan for TFC. It was about last year. Yeah, this was just last year, about March. They featured me because yeah, it's more about women empowerment, and at the time, yeah, that particular image is just giving revisions and also trying to design some ideas and generate ideas for that project. On my side, there are some master plans on my right. So anyways, um back to the question that you had earlier. My thought when after graduating architecture is basically getting that license like everyone there in the Philippines, because Dr. Shaji in the Philippines, after graduation, that 5 year course, we have 2 years, um, 2 years in total of internship that we have to be on site, we have to know how a building is built from ground up, and that we will be under that 2 year training prior to getting into preparing for the licensure examination. And once we pass the licensure examination, that's when we are that's when we call ourselves architects and we are licensed. So, and also, and at my time, we had this manual. The third day will be manual drawing, which I know is different from now for the licensure. Yeah, and yeah, there's no more manual thesis, esquisse type. At the time, uh, going abroad was in my mind, but I wasn't really thinking of working abroad at the time. I was just thinking that I'll be visiting different places abroad. But to be honest, when I was studying, yeah, I was very studious at the time because my parents couldn't really afford sending me to university. So I had several scholarships. I have to get myself several scholarships and to maintain that. Um, yeah, so thank God there were kind people who actually sponsored me to study architecture, and it is a very costly course. So yeah, when I graduated, my first thought was to get that license right away. And during that course, during that time, one thing that I would say to everyone that has been asking me is that during that 2 year time, don't just use that for the training in the offices, but train yourselves as well. Whatever we have gone through in the quizzes and whatever you study in the university, that is actually um, your bullet to get that licensure license. And what I've done before, because as I've told earlier, I was really studious at the time, and I have been very active, and I was the national board of director of ASAFIL at the time, and also been very active in joining the national quiz bees, our quiz. I was the representative for PLM. So I had these index cards, my note cards, my notebooks. I've been reviewing them. I've been allotting 1 hour a day. And I've been going to hardwares, reviewing all the materials, speaking to suppliers, and whatever information that I can get, I just grab that in. And that actually helped me out to get that license. And I think at the time as well, I never thought about working abroad, to be honest, but it's just being a guest or a tourist outside. And that because money was a challenge for me at the time. So yeah, that wasn't really part of it. But yeah, here I am now, years after, and I found some light in the Middle East.
All right. Hearing what
It really takes a
architects,
lot of effort.
It does take a
yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
effort, and also yeah, you challenge yourself every day, and you have that vision. After graduation, I have that vision. I would be somewhere, and I would have the first thing that I thought of, but why I did study architecture, is that I would want to leave something behind when my life ends. I don't know. It's quite morbid, but
Mm.
it's reality. You want to see something built, and you want to contribute that creativity be accepted by people around you, and also people living people you don't know would be able to appreciate whatever you create. So that's actually the good side of being an architect, and that's something that I really enjoy.
That's a lot. Hearing
Yes.
architecture scene is quite overwhelming, but you just have to be an architect through planning and mapping things out. And how about you, Dr. Shaji? Can you also share with us your experiences working abroad?
If you go back to the question, what did I plan after doing architecture? I'm quite the opposite. In fact, I fell into architecture. I didn't think that I would become an architect to begin with.
Yeah.
So, going to an architecture school was not in the plan at all. There was no idea of being an architect. I was more interested in the fine arts. Can you see behind? That's what my interest was essentially. So I wanted to be a painter or a sculptor. And then one of our
Oh wow.
relatives and one of our, my father's friends, he said, "Why don't you try this? Architecture, so you can do that." And because the whole idea of an artist, as it happens in most cultures, is that he or she will die penniless with lots of paintings which are not sold and nobody will know. And once he or she dies, then the paintings will become famous. So that kind of picture, you're quite vulnerable when you're at that age, and when somebody paints a picture like that, you're scared to take that step. So I was quite reluctant to take that. So when somebody suggested, "Why don't you try architecture?" That's how I literally tried it. Architecture. We used to have something called an entrance exam, and so I went with a pencil and a paper. That's it, just with a pencil basically, and then did some sketching and came out. I forgot about it. And then in the merit list, when they put that merit list that who's been selected, my name appeared in the first list itself. So I was kind of shocked and kind of happy because I was not sure what to do. So that's how architecture happened to me. So it was not like I had planned it. That we come across some students now who say that from the age of 5 I wanted to become an architect, and I'm like, wow, that's dangerous planning. So so nothing like that. I just fell into it and then started swimming. First year, as you know, a freshman would know, is very beautiful because you are doing all sorts of things which are not necessarily connected directly with architecture, but you're painting, you're drawing, you're doing it, you're fooling around basically. But so first year was good. I thought this is how it's going to be, and then the challenge started from second year, third year, fourth year, and then I realized this is some serious business. We can't just pass this. And then I started getting really interested in it. So, it took a while for me. Maybe by third year, I realized that this is a field where you are extremely responsible because, I always say the line that you draw on paper uh, actually gets built. It becomes a wall, and that wall can divide people, can divide families, can divide nations. So you have to be extremely careful of what you do with that line, and that kind of realization that that you're responsible for human beings and their existence kind of put that seriousness in me. And then I realized that bachelor's is not enough. You should do something ahead, in after that. And that's when I started thinking about the possibility of a master's. But like, I do relate to what Christine said. Money was an issue even for us. So so I had to bank on my father and my family basically. So went on to do a master's by research. So I didn't want to do design. I thought I'll do research for a change. Let's see how it goes. And then it was a struggle because research is not taught to us essentially. So not in a serious manner. So I did masters by research, and then I presented a paper, and then went on to do a PhD. So that automatically takes you on a mode where you are getting into academia, where you are teaching. Because even as a PhD grad student or a candidate, you have to teach. So teaching became interesting, especially to an Australian, crowd. So that's where the whole idea of studying outside and connecting with people from different cultures and different languages made sense. And I thought it was not so bad as I thought it was. It was beautiful, in fact. So the experience really, I grew with that experience. I think I'm still growing. And then life brought brought me here to Dubai. So that's my journey, in short.
Yeah, it really happens. It also happened in my family actually. My elder sister is taking up architecture, and she wasn't really interested in architecture at all at first. She wanted to do tourism instead, but my dad, it's kind of what do you call this? That my dad said to her that in tourism there's end up being a sales lady like that, and so they encourage my sister to take architecture, and they eventually fall in love with it, even though they didn't choose it at all in the first place. And so, as you mentioned, Dr. Saji, speaking of studying and teaching, in these images, you seem to have gone to Australia way back to study and work there, I believe. And I want to know if when did you realize that you want to pursue studying and teaching abroad, and how did it affect your mindset on the architecture profession?
Well, like I said, at the third year level, we started becoming serious about architecture, and I was in a bunch of students in which two or three were extremely studious, and three or four of us were not very studious, but we were interested. We wanted to do, because we fell in love with architecture in a way. It came to us slowly, but when it came with a bang, and then we realized the importance of it. So then the four or five of us, very we started deciding on where should we go after our bachelor's to do our masters and all. So US was selected. So we thought we'll all go to US. So and we all applied for all these universities. The application fees were dangerous. Even now, I think they're quite expensive. So we had to choose which colleges to apply. So I did get into Parsons School of Design as well as Texas A&M University. But then, for some strange reason, my visa was rejected. They didn't give me the visa to go, and all of my friends went. So the close friends that I had, so I was quite depressed, that all of them went, and they would start sending me messages on, they used to have Yahoo Messenger those days. So they used to send me messages that such a nice campus, you should come. When is your visa coming? And blah blah blah. And I was quite depressed. It was not happening. So, and then my mother suggested, like, everyone is going that side now. If you picture India and the US is on that side and Australia is on this side. So she said very naively that, everyone has gone that side. Why don't you go this side? I said, what, what kind of logic is that? But then it worked out, So there were some universities who were coming to the city where I lived, basically like an education fair. And one of the universities was University of Newcastle, which is near Sydney. Now, this is not Newcastle, the picture. This is, in fact, Adelaide University. This is where I did my PhD from. But it essentially started from Newcastle University, where I did my master's from. And yes, that's how I got into, the idea of doing a master's, which was born out of a desire to do something more than just BIAC, because we really understood by the time we were in third or fourth year that this is not going to be enough. We need to learn a lot more because it's such a huge, massive responsibility. So we can't just go out, with just a BIAC kind of, that kind of thought came. And we were also young. We were daring. We wanted to do things. We wanted to go out and check out things, yeah, so that's how it happened. The ladies that you see on the right side of the image, the one in the yellow is my wife, who joined me in Adelaide.
Oh.
In case you are wondering, I had three girlfriends. That's wrong. So the left one, the one in yellow, is my wife, and the two ladies on the right were my friends from Adelaide University, and they caught up and they became very good friends after they met, and that's how. So that's the picture. That's it.
All right. I think it's great to have friends you want to explore architecture life with. I think Architect Christine said her
Mhm.
whole family was up against architecture.
Yeah,
Everyone
true.
tried to convince her not to be one.
Yes,
Why
that
architect
was
Christine?
challenging at the time. Yeah, when I told my parents that all the university that I applied to, that was my very first choice, architecture. I studied in Mapua Institute of Technology High School. We had a course, not really a course, but a subject that it's a pre-engineering high school. So we have pre-engineering subjects. We had architectural design at a time in high school. And then from then, I honestly felt that, that's the course that I wanted to. But I was just like what Dr. Shaji said. I had choice if I would want to be an artist, but then my mom said, "Nah, this is something you have to die first before earning." And so while studying in a pre-engineering high school, I was open up with architecture, and Mapua is the first registered Filipino architect. I've seen in one, I think it was in the principal's office, there was this frame of one of his plans. It was done in canvas, but then the lineways are really, 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 really clear. And that was just, I was just standing there for a few minutes and I was like, okay, I want to do this. I know the challenge is quite difficult because, right, the first time that I told my family that I'm going to be an architect, everyone tried to convince me not to be one. I've got two brothers who are older than me. They are both engineers, and they're like, no. They are very protective of me, definitely, because they said that one of them actually said that you are gonna end up with sleepless nights. It will be very difficult. It's harder than engineering, and it's very costly. It's not also paying well. Things like that. My parents at that time wanted me to be a nurse, either a nurse, a newscaster, and believe me, a stewardess for for airlines because they wanted to travel, they wanted to be everywhere, just being around the world. But then well, what I've done is that I've applied and I've made architecture as my first choice on. eh, I think, yeah, three universities that I applied to. I got in, but PLM was a choice because first it was closer to me, and secondly because I've got 100% full scholarship. Um, yeah, and then the very first day that the classes started, that's when I told my mom, I'm an architect. I will be an architect soon. So, and of course, the family would just usually families would just give you the bad side, the good side, just to awaken your senses. But at the time, I'm really, really convinced that I want to be in architecture. Yeah, that was a little really funny. But then all the while while I was studying, my parents are very, very supportive, and so are my brothers. Initially, they are very adamant. They wanted to protect me. They didn't want me to go through sleepless nights. And I think architecture is known as a tough course. I think it was everywhere. There's this yeah, there is this what do you call that? That says that architecture is the toughest course, and it was number one. So I think they were just protecting me at the time. But then since I am hard headed, and once I get my vision, uh, I try to work on it, and yeah, so there you
But did
are.
did they change their mind along the way, architect Christine?
I think they did because I managed to because that's how I am. I'm very studious, and just like what I said, I the first year my grade was, yeah, but it's really high. I
Wow.
always get 1.0 on my yeah, 1.0 on my grades.
Wow.
So especially in
San all.
architectural design. No, I really love what I do, and whenever there's free time, I don't go out with my friends. I go to the library. So a bit boring lifestyle, but that's when you try to aim on something, that's, yeah, you challenge yourself and just go on and move to that direction. And, I do remember there was Christmas time, and professors like Dr. Shaji are very fond of giving projects over Christmas times and holidays. So I'm one of those students that would really stay up at home and do and finish the projects rather than going out to mingle with friends and even my own family. I would be stuck in my room finishing off my project. That's how dedicated I was. And during the time when I was studying architecture, I was yeah, representing my university to art quiz in the university in the Philippines. We had a nationwide quiz bees wherein our architecture students would be there, and also I became the national board of director for Architectural Students Association of the Philippines, and I think I was
Wow.
the youngest at the time. But then I just had to step back because I have to focus on my thesis, and at the same time, I've got several scholarships because my parents couldn't really afford me to But then it was very me studious, and now I'm yeah. So I think all the hard works paid off. All the challenges that make me as myself now, and all those trainings that I had, those sleepless nights, the part where I get to choose whether I'd go out to a Christmas party or go out mingle rather than work on my so everything is actually paying off, and yeah, and it was a really good yeah, I think a journey, if you say
Yes.
so, and it's
Interesting.
quite interesting. And then my parents now are
Hmm.
very happy. I would like to say hi to
That's a
them.
lot of
I know they're watching now. Hello to everyone, Mama, Papa. So,
that's a lot of dedication indeed. I wish I had
mm,
that dedication, even
you
in this
will.
midst of pandemic.
I think
Well,
you
going
will.
back,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
I
starting on
wish
your
I
first
will.
year, but I bet if you want an easy life, just like what Zaha did said, architecture is not for you. So yeah, I think that's the
Yeah, it is
honest,
tough.
very honest person. So
It is tough. It is really tough.
it
Yeah.
is tough and
It's
challenging.
very true.
Hmm.
Yeah, and going back to Dr. Saji, aside from teaching and doing research, we heard that you also explore your artistic side, which
Yeah.
I can see at your background, Doctor, that there are so many sketches and paintings. As we have
Yeah.
seen also these samples here in these images, can you tell us about your hobbies and how do you balance it with your academic and professional life?
Well, yeah. Oh, okay. Those are my sketches. Yeah. I've been drawing, for a long time. My mother tells me that, as a kid, I used to draw a boat on the floor. This is when I was not talking, I was not speaking. So I would draw a boat on the floor and then sit inside it and row, and then cry because it's not going anywhere. So so that was the so that was something crazy, but I think that that sense of scale, what my mother was trying to tell is that I used to draw a boat which was in scale with my dimensions. So that was there. So I used to draw quite a lot, so I've got so many of these sketches and drawings from childhood, which somehow I have kind of managed to, save. Thankfully to my parents also, because they kept these drawings in a folder without me knowing. Because as kids, you just draw and throw away, right? You don't really have the idea of documenting them or saving them. So, but my parents were, I think they saw something in it, so they used to keep. So all these drawings that you see, the lower ones, especially the lady with the lamp on the right side below, it's a very old painting. It's a watercolor. It's one of the first or second watercolors that I did on a paper which I didn't know there were watercolor papers. So it's a very normal bond paper on which you paint print. But that's what. So it kept me interested, in the whole idea of techniques of watercolor or any other medium that I might be using. So I was always interested in art, and in school, not in architecture school, in school, the usual school, I had really good art teachers who would hand me all these fat books about Renaissance painters and their styles and techniques. So uh, I think they saw something, and then they used to encourage me, um, and encourage me to take part in competitions which were for older students, and I would win them. So win them by a huge margin also sometimes, and they would be there's a lot of encouragement, indirect encouragement happening from teachers. So I really thought that I would become a painter. I still feel sometimes I might become a painter. Not too sure. We cannot be so sure about life, but still, so I've kept that alive. So every time there will be a sketchbook with me, there will be a pen in my hands. So wherever I go, I cannot. It's almost like I'm not wearing something if I don't have a sketchbook and a pen with me. I wherever I go, even if it's for a movie with the family, I would perhaps carry it somewhere, tucked in. Even if it's a small sketchbook, lots of these tiny ones. I carry them, so it just sits in your pocket. So and then there's a pen. So you just record. The whole idea of recording. It's not to make a drawing beautiful, but the whole sense of taking down notes by drawing it. So that I think by that I remember many things. I think it's one way of remembering. I think that's how I would put it. So yeah, I do a bit of art. Yes, when I get time, that is, and. Especially after coming to Dubai, I did realize that there's a market here for exhibitions and all that. So then I got in touch with some of the friends that I made here, the artist groups and all. And it happened. So a few of those painting exhibitions happened because of that collaboration, basically.
Well, yeah, right. Despite the technology, of course, it's important to know the manual principles and skills in our field. And, well, am I right, Ate Jess? It's,
Yes, you're right. We all must start with the basics. Speaking of
yeah.
hobbies, going back to Architect Christine, we
Mm.
also heard you're an illustrator as well. You've illustrated this
Mhm.
book, The Pearl Diver's Son, and accordingly, you seem to be delighted when you joined the penny coloring contest. So please tell us about your interests and hobbies as well about this
Yeah.
Pearl Diver's Son.
What you have in here on the left of Pearl Diver Sun is actually available now in Amazon. It was
Oh,
yeah, it was just early this year. Uh, it was launched during the Emirates Literature Festival. The author Julia Johnson is quite a famous and prominent children's story book writer here in the Middle East. So they together with her husband actually contacted me and asked me if I can do some illustrations for them. I did had to apply for it and submit some of my sketches. As you know, last year I was one of World Art Dubai emerging artists. Yeah, we were part of the top 10 emerging artists that was introduced last year, and then earlier this year, yeah, and then for Diverse on. The story is quite interesting. It talks about a bit of a history on what happens here for the pearl diving industry here in the UAE. On your
Hmm.
right, that's the penny table design contest. This table particularly was in Chicago about 2 years ago. It was displayed in NeoCon Chicago. I did, yeah, design. It was displayed in there. Um, I can't say anything more. I think, yeah, what lacks in here, yeah, just like I said earlier. Last year was like a pivotal moment for everyone when we had the 2020 because I had more time. I was staying at home and I had more time for myself. The lessened amount of time that I used on traveling, I used that to do something else and yeah, just go back to sketching and doing painting. And then yeah, I was part of the World Art Dubai. We had the exhibition in World Trade Center, and also it was exhibited in Row Hotels, the artwork that I've done. um it's what I find interesting in there is that I wouldn't be in there if I did not really try. I think not many would save up the time to do things beyond what is normally within the normal things that we do. For example, during that time, that was during quarantine area, and the quarantine time in here, that was the perfect opportunity for everyone because there are free online webinars, there are free trainings available online. We all have the time. We don't go out that much. And that was the perfect time that I was able to go back to my roots, as in drawing and sketching and doing art. And yeah, and then I always tell that whatever you have done in 2020, when you had that good break, I call the quarantine time as a good break. And because everything was slowing down, whatever you have done in 2020 is actually helping me out or everyone out for 2021. So it was kind of good opportunity for everyone to get into free resources, free access to learning, free seminars, free certificates, and free everything. Everyone was just trying to be out there sharing out information and knowledge. So I think and opening up to online discussions like where we are now. I think thanks to 2020 for that. The data and access to everything is much more possible now. We had the internet before, we had Skype, we have video conferencing, but it's not as widely used as where it is now. It was like everyone else is using video conferencing, and now we're getting this technology and using this technology to the right stuff, getting information out there far on the other opposite side of the world. It's the same thing for ourselves. We keep on challenging and learning new things, which is why I was able to get into um, that being an illustrator. That was also part of thank you, Connie. That being an illustrator for that book, that was like wow in my bucket list because I never thought as an architect I could be an illustrator for a children's book. And knowing that I have got two kids with me, and I was like, oh, someday when they're able to read, they would have something on the book. And my kids were like, whenever they see me in the magazine, they would say, Mommy, you're here." And I was like, "Okay, why do you think I'm there?" Probably it was a mistake that I was printed in the magazine, but they have no idea. And there is this degree of something leaving off, not just in the building side of part of it, but also touching that part of the kids and influencing them that it's actually possible to dream and to have that vision, to work for it. And yeah, it's just everywhere. And I thought I'd be one of the secret agents, but now it's not really possible because my profile is out there everywhere. You can type down in the webs. But it would have been nice to have
Yeah.
that private profile in. But yeah, maybe next time I'll still be a secret agent after architecture or while doing architecture. Because why not?
Yeah, I think with what our architect said, it's just proving that remote. Oh, Architect Lutap is here. Hi, Mom
Hi,
Lutap.
Mom
She said that
Lutap. Hello po.
going back, it's just proving that remote work is possible. Albeit it's happening before COVID. More companies are adapting to it. And like what they told us, going back to your roots is important and convenient with what's happening right now, right, Angela?
Yes, and I also agree about that. Uh, Everything right now is very accessible compared before, and it's very helpful for our generation. Yes, I think, for example, like when I don't have any books in architecture, but I can just search it online on download PDFs of it, and it's really really reliable. And so
Everything is
now that
accessible.
we have heard some of part of their career, yeah, really, I agree with that. It seems that it seems that the decision to work overseas is of course not easy. Not as easy for so many reasons. Like there are also struggles that you will meet, especially when starting your career in an unfamiliar setting, unfamiliar faces, and of course being away from your family. There are so many risks as well, but it's all about the passion. It's all about the passion, your passion to meet your goal at the end of the day. So that's it for our next segment. This episode, we'll be talking about career challenges and the effects of the pandemic. Being in a place with different culture and environment from what you are accustomed to, there are these questions coming up like, what are the major challenges that you experience working abroad as an architect, and how do you cope up with cultural differences in the workplace? Like, starting off with Architect Christine,
What are the
this
major
picture seemed to
challenges?
be
Yeah,
here's a
challenges.
picture of Architect Christine.
Hi.
Yes, you seem to
That
be
was just me
leading
speaking to.
important meetings here. Yeah.
Yes. This actually is a reason for like last year. So this is where I'm a senior associate now. But starting off with the career in in the Middle East, particularly, um, as a woman in construction, fortunately, I have not encountered too much discrimination. When I came in here, it was like about 14 years ago. Um, the struggle that I had is particularly just looking after myself for a person on a personal level, because I was really brought up and I've been living with my parents, and my parents would always be there to cook. And I was just the life that I had was just university and home. And after that, I also worked in the Philippines and in a smaller boutique company, and then going to Arquitectonica. The first one was Art Atelier. But regarding that, just living alone and having being in a place that you don't know anything about, it's a big step, which is quite challenging. The more we challenge ourselves, the better for our growth, anyways. But fortunately, in the workplace, in the company that I'm in, I've been treated very well, to be honest. And I think the company, Godwin Austin Johnson, is not really looking at the employees as per the age or race or anything like that. They they are trying to look at what you can actually add in the company or as an employee, and what you can contribute within the company itself. But there are some time that one thing that I would remember that's quite critical was that there are times that attending client meetings would be quite a challenge, particularly because I look younger than my age.
Yes,
um
indeed.
yeah, I look younger than my age, and I'm not as tall as the Westerners or even the Indians, Dr. Shaji. I don't know what you guys are eating, but you are guys are so tall. Or maybe it's just that we are
You
this
haven't seen
height.
me. You haven't seen me, so I'm not that tall.
No. But whenever we're in the client meeting, I have to present myself very well in terms that I had to wear glasses, just to make me look older, if that makes sense. And the way I speak, it's just everything about me looking at myself, that thing. So sometimes I am there are times that the credit goes to my colleagues who are actually years younger than me, but then yeah, because yeah, I do the design part of the projects and also thinking behind it. So there are times that the credit is given to them directly in the client. There was also an occasion where in a kickoff meeting in a client side, during break times, the client would ask about my background because I look younger than the people who are beside me, and also being the only Filipina in there, and also being the only woman within that panel, within that team. I would I would stand out because it's like weird having a young one, and they would think that I'm an intern within the team. And then whenever I tell them, though, I've got like 12 years, 15 years experience in the, and then they will like be surprised. And how long, the next question will be, how long have you been with Godwin Austin Johnson? And which I would respond, it's almost years now. And now I'm actually with them for 14 years. And now I'm leading the team and also training young ones. Yeah, I think it all boils down to how we bring ourselves in. The way I was brought up, because I grew up in Tondo, I was able to see how difficult life is. So, where I am now, I'm able to speak to anyone from nannies to drivers to office boy, and I would treat them very fairly. I would speak to directors, I would speak to clients, and yeah, it's like that. It's like everyone would be a vessel that I can learn from, and I would treat them fairly. And I think that's some part of me being brought up in Tondo, that humble appearance or the humble character that they get to see is actually helping me out to reach out and understand my clients more, and also not just my clients but also my colleagues in the office. Um, yeah, so there you go. I think discrimination, no, it's not allowed in here, in particularly in UAE. It's very much not allowed in here. The women in here are gaining are given priority, to be honest. Basic priority would be public transportation. The women gets in even though the men have been waiting there for hours. So so that's a good part in here in the Middle East. The diversity is very the women in here are empowered, and it's really good to know that the amount of women taking the architecture course for on a student basis, with the amount of interns and applicants that I am getting as of the moment is the women are more compared to the number of men who are actually applying, which is really fascinating because at the time when I was in the university, we are the minority. I'm not sure now, maybe it's 50-50, Dr. Shaji. I'm not sure about the percentage of the
It
students
used
now.
to be, it used to be 50-50 during our times,
Ah, okay.
but predominantly it would be men
Ah,
more
okay. Because
than.
for me, we're studying architecture. I think we're just about 20% or 30% of the class. So at that
Mhm,
time,
mhm,
knowing in that setup already, I am aware of how the profession is male dominated,
mhm.
and I have trained myself to be part of that already, and I've challenged myself, and I've accepted that I'm already in that position. But then know that being part of the minority, you are able to give out something very unique because you don't think similarly as the other ones. And that's a power that we all have. And that's something that we can use for our advantage. I think I'm sorry, I really tend to speak more than the allotted time that I have. So please feel free to stop me.
It's
And then so
fine, Dr.
I give the floor to you, Angela and Jess.
Well, it can be really tough, but you just have to be strong, right? Focus on your goal. And it's great that in UAE, discrimination is not allowed. It's really, really great about that. And knowing that being part of a minority, especially I'm a girl too, Ate Jess is a girl, is a woman, you are a woman architect, and we can give something unique, every one of us,
I totally,
regardless our gender, yes.
yes,
Yeah,
I
we
agree
all
with
have to go for not really diversity or not really equality for about gender, but it has to
Mhm.
be diverse. It's not just separating women or men. It's not about that. Everyone within the company, if you're in an organization, you're trained as an architect. Everyone is an architect. There's no such thing as a male architect, female architect. There's no such thing.
yes.
There's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
architects. That's it.
It's really about your personality, not really about your gender. Anyway, for our next
Mhm.
question, Dr. Shaji, since we heard you spent time studying in Australia and you've experienced being a professor teaching at prestigious universities, the question is, what is the difference between being an architect in practice and teaching architecture in the academy or university?
Oh, there you go. Okay. So those are again some of my friends, and the one on the left is my wife. So don't mistake, please. So, yeah, we had a lot of friends, from different cultures. So one you see on the right is from Japan, Masayo, and the one on the extreme right is Myla Andaman. She's originally from the Philippines, now settled in Melbourne. So multiculturalism was something which was, always in. I think it's part of being an Indian in a way. I would imagine, because if you think about India, I am a South Indian, but I was brought up entirely in the western part of India, Gujarat. Okay, I know by default most Indians know at least three or four languages, because one would be their mother tongue, one would be the language they follow or speak where they are located or studied, and so these things are quite common for us, and it's very easy for Indians to blend. So that's why you see lots of Indians everywhere. You can't help it. We are there. First of all, it's a huge population, so we tend to get out. And then and in terms of multiculturalism, so like I said, uh, there's a saying in Greek, you deserve what you get. Meaning that it really boils down to your own personality, I think. Apart from the fact that you are an architect or anyone for that matter, but I think deep inside you must be a human being first, and understand the fact that the people on the other side are also human beings with their own set of problems and pleasures, like you might have, and and that endears you to this globe. It makes you a global citizen rather than pinning you down to being an Indian or anyone. Of course, you are an Indian, uh, but the fact that I've made so many friends, with all sorts of backgrounds. The photograph on the left is a place is in the house of a very dear friend of mine who's still in Australia. uh, and it's just endearing to know that you can connect with people of all sorts. um, I think it boils down to your personality also, how much you open up yourself and how much you listen, and rather than and imposing things on others, and then trying to understand different cultures. I know I'm rambling, but I hope it's making sense. So if you think about, if the question was what's the difference between teaching and practice, so I did some practice after my bachelor's in an office for 3-4 years while my friends had gone to do their masters. So if you remember what I said earlier, so I was in a kind of depression mode, where I had to join an office, and get emails and messengers from them saying, when are you coming? That never happened, so I ended up working. And then when I ended up doing my master's and PhD, obviously I was getting into teaching. So in terms of professional life, I wouldn't say that practice. I like practice. I still would love to design. Um, and as I've grown older, I've started understanding things a little better, and things are making more sense to me architecturally, if you want to say. But the joy that I get when I teach uh, is unimaginable. I mean, I cannot compare it with anything else right now. So I'm so happy teaching, and it takes me on a different level altogether. And when I'm in the classroom, uh, I'm a different person, and I know what's going on, and I'm in control, and there's so much to tell, there's so much to talk, and there's so much to inquire and design and discuss that I'm not sure. I'm rambling, I know, but teaching is something that has been my passion, and I think it will remain for a while now.
That's right. Indeed, it's exciting to connect with people regardless of the race, and it's great to know their culture as well. Dr. Shaji, Architect Alan here has question for you. Why are
Dangerous.
architects are being portrayed dramatically in movies and series? Example, Ted Mosby.
Alan, I'll see you tomorrow, man. Wait. Well,
Yes.
I don't know, because I think the whole idea. I was reading an article about how architects have been portrayed, and it's quite interesting because these architects, if you think about the Fountainhead, Ayn Rand's novel, which was made into a movie, the architect is a hero. He's a egoist. He's hardcore. He's full of ego, and he won't take no for an answer, and he goes ahead and does that building. I hope you have watched that film, freshers. If you haven't, you must. It's an interesting movie.
We're taking notes,
But
Dr.
sorry.
We're taking notes. We'll watch the
Okay,
movie.
great. So it's a nice book also. You should read the book before watching the movie. That will be more helpful. Uh, and uh, and then the whole idea being an architect as someone who knows many things. So we are we may not be master of anything, but we are almost jack of all trades. You know a bit of philosophy, you know a bit of fine arts, you know a bit of sociology, anthropology, history. It's all fed to us in different ways through so many things, through documentaries, through books, through design discussions, through your juries. You get to learn so many things that you realize that, you understand things in a deeper way, slightly more deeper way. So you end up becoming, I don't know. I think passionate about life. If I were to put, I don't know, Christine, if you would agree, because we become passionate about life, rather than the thing that we are so rich, not in terms of money, but in terms of understanding of the cultures and understanding of the way people live, the way people sleep, sit, walk, talk, in groups. And so we're talking about spaces. We're talking about spaces and how people mold these spaces, and we are those who design these spaces for them. So it makes us probably softer. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I'm using the right word, but I think that could be Alan. I don't know. Maybe that's your answer, perhaps. Maybe that's why people think that we are romantic. Perhaps we are. We never know.
Well, it has been voted that architects are the sexiest, and women actually prefer architects. I think it's because,
I
you
should
know,
have thought
honestly,
about it before marrying.
yeah, there was some statistics that happened, was published, and as well, there was an ad by Banana Republic before that
Mhm.
says architects are actually sexy. So I think it
Ha,
adds up to the hype.
it's
Um,
true.
I feel that architects are well run rounded in terms of the way we speak. That's in terms of the way we present ourselves, our ideas, and knowing how, and also in how we present how creative we are, the creativity, and how much we care on things that we like to do. I think that actually adds to that sexiness, if I may say. Um, I don't know with architect Alan why he was asking this about the movie, but the way I see it is that the thought of being called as an architect, for example, the Matrix. They said that the architect who designed the whole matrix, right? So whenever you think about an architect, it's someone who actually thinks of things, or someone who actually controls the whole stuff.
Yep.
And we could actually, recently we have an influx of architects that are actually in IT. Yeah, right. They're
Mm.
like IT architects and the systems architect. They use
Yes.
the term itself, architect, because that alone says that that person is knowledgeable about certain things, and that's something that, for example, women or anyone who would look for someone as a partner would think that. On my personal point of view, it's not something written anywhere though, but it's just that everyone, when we think about someone as a partner, would think that it's actually sexy that that person knows what he or she is actually thinking, and the way he would envision what happens in the future, which is what architects are. And that's actually being able to present it well creatively, and also, yeah, a whole rounded combination or of an individual that has
Yeah.
this disposition, or say disposition, just like what you said, architects would be tough and things that we try to decide, or we try to say what's on our mind and stick to that, and that's actually power, and that's actually sexy. I think that's the main thing. But yeah, it's
All right.
actually good to be an architect, and also being romanticized in the movies, that it's actually sexy. But at the same time, what it doesn't show is the challenges that architects actually goes through. Behind it, it's not about the glitters, it's not about those, it's about sleepless nights. It's about getting into the construction, being dirty because you have to be on site, you have to be out there under the sun, you have to coordinate with different types of people, you have to communicate with different sorts of people. You have to be an architect and at the same time a marketing personnel, a sales personnel, a tourism personnel, a lead or a sustainability personnel, an engineer on top of one profession on top of another. And that alone, when we say architect are the sexiest, is that yeah, maybe it's a combination of all of this and the way we present ourselves and the way we talk and the way we tend to be jack of what do you
Yes.
call that?
Jack
Yeah,
of
Or
jack
all
of all
trades.
trades, and we tend to be more than what we are. And
yeah.
I think that's sexy for me. And
Yes, I
good that we
totally.
are we are presented that way in the movies. So thank you, Halloween. Thank you for the movies, Bollywood, and so yeah, us good for us.
I agree with
Yeah.
you, Architect Christine. We have to be cognizant of the general knowledge of everything. And speaking
Mm.
of Architect Christine, I think your mother is watching us over from
Hi, Mama. See, I
Tondo.
told you. My mama. Yeah. So hello po.
All right. I hope our viewers are taking notes from what our guests are telling us because it's not every day that we get to hear this firsthand experiences and thoughts.
So
Absolutely. I
architect
am very thrilled,
architect Alan
especially that
putting
I'm
us
still a
on spot.
student. Yes, it's hot seat. and these insights are very helpful, especially to our viewers and listeners who are still a student and graduating students. And here's another question for the both of you: how does the pandemic affect and the architectural practice abroad,
Mhm.
especially in relation to office setup and even respective design processes with all those COVID and post COVID-19 considerations? Architect Christine?
I think in our company, in our practice, right, even before the pandemic happened, we have several employees who are actually working from home, like remotely. So, working remotely isn't a new thing in our company where I'm from. It's just that the way pandemic happened is just it was really sudden. The company is already aware of the possibility of working from home because I have colleagues who are on a different state or in a different country, or colleagues who are working from site, they're working remotely. So
Mm,
what happened there is that there's a sudden shock that everyone suddenly wouldn't be able to be at home, but then our the problem there is the IT had to set up each and every computers to be accessible remotely. That's one
In
part.
sync.
Yeah, instantly, of course it's government mandated and everyone has to work from home, but then the company is already aware of working from home because it happens when you have projects on site or when employees are actually outside of UAE and other countries and other um the changes in pandemic. I think for my team, I work in the concept design team, so we do the initial stages of projects and we do the concept and thinking about designs of the projects that we get in, primarily I'm also part of the management, which also is part of the bidding process to get in projects within the company. So for my part, I really did not slow down, if I may say, because my team has been very busy at a time. We needed to win more projects. But what happened there was some of the projects had to stop because the construction had to stop and not, although they were, yeah, some of the projects had to stop, particularly if someone on the site tested positive, the whole project stops. So that actually
mm,
affected the flow of the financial aspects of that one is is a lot. Let's
mm,
say to a company who has 200 employees. But personally, on a micro basis for teams, the challenge that I had during that time with my team was some of my colleagues are not really fortunate to have their own own flats, or they have to share in batch accommodations. And so their connection, although they are allowed to have that remote connection, the challenge there was, first they must have a good computer access. So that not everyone would have that, and they would have that internet access that is really good. If everyone within the house or the flat that they live in are actually working from home, and everyone is getting that data in, which normally doesn't is not being
Mm.
used, that was a challenge for some of them. But thank God, throughout that pandemic, we got past through it, and it actually enables the company to open up to more possibilities or ways on how to deal with, there are options. Unlike before, working from home is just a taboo, or even for mothers who wanted to work from home, it's a taboo. It's just an idea on the mind that you cannot
Yeah.
really do that. But now, since the 2020 and the pandemic, there's a possibility that you can do your work from home. Uh, Someone is talking in the background. And then at the same time, what I experienced at the time is that when we had the clients at the time were very, very what do you call that? They were very I'm not really the word was probably efficient in asking for things right away, is
Mm.
everyone's still in a hurry, and it's not really slowing down because everyone is in a hurry to finish up projects, because once everything opens up, they're not everyone was not really stuck about the situation, but everyone is thinking ahead of that, that everything will open up, and we have to prepare for that. Similar things to our clients at the time. So when things come up, tourism will boom, education will boom, hospitality, education, commercial, retail sector will boom, and everyone was just looking for that. So for us, it was kind of good. But yeah, projects stopping, projects not moving further, and clients would have to decline on some of the project. That is a huge financial
Mm.
problem for corporate. But then team wise, I am very fortunate that I work with a team that's very dedicated and talented. I'm very proud of them. Although some of them are really young, but I can see that they are really talented. And the character and skill set that they have, we had this culture within the team that, okay, we set a deadline and we meet that, and we all understand each other and support each other. So when one of my teammates wasn't able to give us the drawing, another one from home has called me up, can I help on this one, because this person, our colleague, is not able to do that. So that's the kind of camaraderie that we have built in the company, which was really, really helpful during the time that we had to work remotely. And then at the same time, we had to go back right away in the company, in the office, when it was lifted up. It was just my team who was really working in the company when all the computers are just and the monitors are moving because people are working from home. So we had the choice to work from home or work in the office. My team decided that we prefer to be in the office and have that physical interaction and physical coordination and collaboration with them. So I think there are good sides and good sides to that. There was someone in the background. But anyways, thank you.
How about you, Dr. Saji? Especially that you are teaching. What are the hindrances or struggles in that one?
The hindrances and struggles were actually like this: somebody's walking or talking in the background. Most of the times is the parents talking to their other child. So in terms of teaching, it did hit us, like Christine said. When it came down heavily, and then but strangely, we were one of
We
the first schools
managed.
in Manipal who quickly went on to online mode without much of a trouble. So of course there was a few. First we tried with Zoom, then with WebEx, and finally we landed on MS Teams. So in terms of choosing the platform and what works with iPad, this, that, everything we used to do. and it just went on brilliantly after that. But yeah, the usual hindrances were obviously like, the connection issues, and some people, those who were probably stuck in back in India, the connections were a problem. They would their electricity would go off, and they would be lost. And but then of course we started recording the sessions. So the pandemic, we are still seeing it as as a thing that will soon go away. And in fact, some of our students produced brilliant work during the pandemic.
Yeah. Mm.
And even that was shocking. Like, we were wondering, and that challenged my own perhaps old world thinking that studio culture and
Mm.
architecture must happen in the studio.
Mm.
I still believe it. I still believe it, but I think that if you are interested, and if you learn from your peers and your teachers, then I think you can also do it. It's online, if that's possible. So they did some brilliant work, and we were quite shocked to see that, that, because we were not expecting anything. To be honest, when pandemic hit, all the teachers here, we already let our guards down in a way. We said that we used to grade like this. Now we should look at here, or perhaps even lower. So we won't keep our expectations high. But that didn't happen. In fact, we had to go higher up. We were, all right, we are seeing it something else.
Mm.
We are seeing
Mm.
something new. So yeah, but again, it's a passing phase, hopefully, and we are all, anyways, we are thinking that there'll be 100% attendance. So
Yeah.
back to studio kind of thing. So we're excited
Mm.
about it right now.
Yeah, it's undeniably that COVID affected everyone here, but it's good to know that our guests have team that are willing to help them indeed, and also it's really a problem. Also in here in the Philippines,
Yeah.
I was able to be disconnected a while ago because of the
Mm.
internet, but
Mm.
it's really a challenge.
I think what's challenging
But
there is
you
just,
just have to cope up with it.
yeah, for
Yeah.
Yeah.
since your generation, you're much more connected, isolated and connected at the same time because you're much more into technology.
Yeah.
So for your generation, it wasn't that critical. It's
Yeah.
actually within the older generation which had to go back and to be immersed directly in technology. That was a bit challenging there, but I think for your generation, but at the same time I feel that, for a freshman at last year might be a bit difficult because training remotely when you're actually new in the course, like architecture course, that might be a bit difficult. And just like what Dr. Shaji mentioned earlier, that is, it's a bit of challenge because you would want that freshman to be able to learn more physically. So, but then now there's a possibility to for no study from home or work from home or even to be in the studio. So now there's more options to learn, which is
Mhm.
both beneficial to the
Yeah.
students, to the teacher, to everyone in the professional or the corporate world. Yeah.
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 There are things that cannot be taught inside the classroom, I think. Especially we're skill
Yeah.
based.
Hmm.
Yes, Angela.
Well, working abroad and entering a foreign bird is really a challenge. I'm wondering if I will be able to, cope up with that soon. It will be a really long way for me.
You
And
have
this
five
pandemic has
years.
made things even harder, but there are also perks with it. Yeah, yeah. And 5 years or more, I don't think. I really don't know.
You can do it.
It challenge Actually challenge all professions, not just architecture. But architecture is not excluded in this. From keeping
Mm.
their own safety, the occupant safety in the field, and protecting other people by efficient designs suited for the effects of COVID-19. But it is indeed passion that keeps fueling these architects in this time of crisis.
Mm.
So, yes, I think we can now move on to our last segment for tonight.
Yes. Before we move on to our last segment, kamustahin naman natin. Let's ask about our viewers tonight. I hope you learned a lot from our guests and their experiences abroad, and hopefully it will help you who are having a hard time deciding whether or not they are to work overseas. Personally, I'm skeptical, but I want to explore outside the Philippines. Why don't you read some comments, Angela?
Well, actually, there's a lot of people commenting a while back. There's a question from Andy De Jesus for Dr. Saji. It is it better to have your license first before continuing to pursue graduate degree? What are your insights about this?
We think both our
Uh,
architects can answer that.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
but we
Go on.
first we can start with Dr. Saji.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, see, in my case, it was slightly awkward and I find it slightly embarrassing to share, but I will share it anyways because it's not a hidden thing. Well, in that whole commotion of applying for masters and all, and in that thing that I would be studying soon after bachelor's, I would be going to do my masters. I did not apply for the Council of Architecture registration. All right,
Mm-hmm.
and that is essentially the license that gives you
Mm-hmm.
the license to practice in India.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot about it, and it never clicked. My friends had applied, but they didn't tell me, or maybe they told I was not aware, and it never worked. So I was not an architect. So there was no, I didn't get the registration. You'll be surprised. When did I become an architect? Architect in 2015, when I joined Manipal, and then
Oh,
because of Council of Architecture inspection, they said, "All right, Dr. Shaji, you got a PhD, you got a master's,
Mm-hmm.
but you are not an architect." I said, "Yeah, well, I am an architect. So where's your Council of Architecture registration?"
Uh,
I said, "Damn it!" And then then I applied. So at the ripe old age of maybe 42, 43, or what was I? Yeah, maybe 44. I became an architect
mm-hmm.
officially. But to be able to practice, obviously you need a license. But what generally happens soon after when you get out of university is that unless you are very well connected, and you have your parents who have clients ready for you, or you are already sitting in your father's seat or mother's seat in an architecture office, things don't come so easily to you. You need to do a lot of legwork. You need to work under someone. At which point you don't really have the signing authority as an architect. You're mostly trying to learn the tricks of the trade, basically. But it's always good to have the license first before you start doing anything else. At least keep that out of the way. At least keep it in your bag, rather. So that when it's needed, you can produce it. Not like me. Don't take my experience because that's dangerous. In 2015, I told my wife, "Today I'm an architect," and she was like, "You cheated. You never told."
I think it's because in the Philippines it's quite different setting compared to what you have in your country. So for India, I think that's actually acceptable. But I think in the Philippines, the way we are brought up is that after
Yeah, I
graduation, you
think.
aim for, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
You
think they are doing that in India also. Now the
mm,
council is
mm,
thinking of
mm,
introducing exams to qualify,
yeah.
rather than just give it like that.
And the
Mm.
way the culture in the Philippines work
But
is
that's a
that
good system because then
yeah,
that.
yes, it's actually difficult to find job or career in the Philippines, and when you don't have the license. So the license actually affords you to get
Mm.
into the companies, and otherwise you'll be an intern. You'll be considered as an intern. So
Yes.
that's the major difference. But if what usually happens in the Philippine setting is that after graduation you get the license and then you go for the graduate degree. You can also do the what Dr. Shaji has done, but I'm not sure if that is actually it's not really that much practice in the Philippines, if I might say. The practice is get your license, just like what Dr. Shaji said, get it out of the way. Once you get the
Yes.
license, then done. Then you move on to master's degree and also PhD, and that's it. And at the end of the day, anyways, it's gonna be an additional credit for yourself. So
Yeah.
whichever course you take, if that's part of the plan, then by all means do it. Well, what I think what could be a good suggestion is to get the license first, because that is much more connected to the academics. Yeah, the master's is actually further review. So whatever you do in the master's degree, and if you go back to the academics, that's quite much more challenging, because you have to go back to history, you have to go back
Mm.
to structure, you have to
Yeah.
go back to that. But unless if you are a fresh graduate, and where ideas or actually the knowledge that you got from the university is more fresh, that could actually help you gain that license. I think that that's the way, if I
Mm.
may suggest, forward. But
Yeah, I think that would be
anyway,
practical. I
yeah,
would say that,
yeah, that would be
that's more
practical.
practical
Mm,
to get the
mm,
license first. So
mm,
even if you do, see, I chose academia because
mm,
I ended up
mm,
liking it. But
mm,
what if I didn't like academia? What if I wanted to come back to practice? It wouldn't have been
mm,
possible
that's
because I
right.
didn't have
Mm,
the license. They would
mm,
say that what are you? Simple,
mm,
right?
that's right.
So it's always to keep it handy. It's better. Yeah.
But at the same time, having the license means you would have to pay yearly for memberships, and I don't know with you, Dr. Chaji, but for us, yearly we have to keep
Yeah,
up
yeah.
this amount of membership
No,
fees
we
or
have
organization fees that we have to keep up. So that's
In
that's
order to
the side
practice.
that's not
we have a
really
lifetime
mentioned
membership
anywhere.
option.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't have
We
that
have a
lifetime
lifetime
in the
membership
review.
option.
Oh, that's really
Yeah.
good. But
So,
for us, it's a privilege that can be taken out from you. So you have to really
oh, okay.
maintain it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
You have
I
to
mean, if we
maintain
do
it from
something, if we
CPDs and
correct.
trainings, and also the membership fees, or otherwise you'll be considered delinquent, or yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And also to what Dr. Saji said a while ago, I may requote Zaha Hadid's statement that if you want an easy life, don't marry an architect, which is it's really, really true indeed.
No,
And I hope that
I married
answers
a
the
doctor.
question.
I married an architect, another architect.
Oh,
So
Dangerous.
yeah,
I
yeah,
married
Wow.
a
from
doctor.
no, he's fantastic. I think the one thing that's positive about it is because I don't have to explain the challenge that I'm going through. When I have to stay up late to do some tasks, I don't have to do a lot of explanation. He
yes.
knows right away that it's actually needed, and I don't have to explain myself that I need to do this and that. No more explanation. He understands the struggles.
The dynamic comes natural.
Yeah, but also we cannot really work in one team because
Hmm.
his ideas are different from mine. Otherwise, we'll end up butting each other's heads. Because he's also straightforward and he has his own design ideas, and So, but it's I'm proud of my husband.
Yes.
Hello, husband, you're watching on the
That
other
is
room.
sweet.
Yeah, I think my wife is also
Well,
watching. She's a doctor. So I was quite conscious I will never marry an architect because,
Oh, cool.
it was no, because as architecture students, we already understood that there will be ego clashes, and we
Yes.
in a team there would always be some certain ego problems. Because my design is better. How can your design be
Exactly.
better? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I married a doctor, but yeah, fine. It's all fine. At least my health is being checked regularly,
How is
it's a
it with the
lifetime
pandemics
health
now?
insurance.
That's
and
really
and
good.
it's a lifetime case study for her. Like what
You
is
are the
this
case
visa?
study.
All right. I hope, Miss Andy, I hope that our architects have answered your question. Moving on from all those, I think it's your husband, architecture
My father.
student.
That's my
Oh,
father,
your
actually.
father. I'm sorry. Apologies.
Yay. Hi,
Would you like to
Papa.
say hi?
It's just weird. My mom and dad, yeah, they're yeah. Hello, Mama,
Very
Papa.
supportive.
Of course, they're quarantined now. I think yeah, it's a bit it's challenging for everyone in the Philippines as of now, because they're still in the Dr. Shaji. They haven't experienced what we are experiencing in here, that we can actually go outside
Yeah,
freely. So they are now at home, and it's really challenging because Filipinos are known to be
Mm.
everywhere outside,
Yes.
mingling and having, chatting with the neighbor, but now it's quite difficult. So
Yeah,
having
yeah.
these online conferences is actually helping them, and that's why I say hello mama, hello papa, kamusta po?
All right. Moving on from all those hard work and struggles that our architects have been through, of course, we would also want to know how those challenges paid off. Starting with Architect Christine and the
Hmm.
triumph of a Filipino architect. We heard
Oh,
that you have recently won the Middle East Consultants Awards, Woman in Construction Professional of the Year, and the
yes.
Dubai Supermom Award 2021. Can you share with us your thoughts and feelings upon receiving those awards? And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Well, the Women in Construction Award. I think Dubai Moms. Okay. Let's go to the Women in Construction Award. I think when my name was called at the time, it was really surreal because everyone who are nominated and who are shortlisted are really high profile architects and engineers. So it's not just about architects. There are engineers on that short list. And I was the one
Mm.
hailed as a winner. And it
Wow.
brought me, it was really surreal at that moment, and I was really teary eyed, and I was really grateful that I was given the award, and knowing that I've given another sense of pride to my fellow countrymen there in Pinas. And usually it's not every day that it's not really sad, but it's not really every day that Filipinos get rewarded, particularly in a construction or architecture business. So to be hailed as a Middle East professional of the year, that's really really a huge privilege, and also an honor for me at the night and at the time, and even up to now, I'm still thinking that am I really deserving for the award. So there are some times that I think about that, but then at the same time, I would, while on stage, I would just, while walking towards the stage, what's in my mind was just thinking about the challenges, the years that I've worked on, from all those sleepless nights, all those tough coordination, all those design challenges, all those tough deadlines that I've passed through. That actually, the challenges that I had gone that lead me to where I am actually helped me to be myself. And you would know me as a soft spoken lady or an architect in the office, but at the same time, I'm also hard work pays off. At the same time, I know I am tough because as I've said, I've been in this male dominated arena for quite some time already. And yeah, I don't see myself as anything different from my colleagues, because all of us are trained as architects. There was a funny email from my colleague when it was announced through online and social media the following day, because the picture that I had, it was women in construction, right? Because I was standing in that picture and I was covering the letters WO, and behind me it's men in construction. And my colleagues were teasing me, yes, because you're one of us. You're one of us. So it was really funny. But then to be appreciated, it's an enormous it's a very good feeling to receive awards, and to understand that the people actually are appreciating and although not many would see the challenges behind getting any of this award or any of the sacrifices that I've done. It's really, surreal, and I'm really really grateful for that. But at the same time, after getting the award, the challenge for me is how can I better myself, or what else can I do more, or how can I help someone else. So which is why, yeah, so this is one of the conference pre-COVID times, maybe probably a month before pre-COVID. This is the hotel show. These are not actually my colleagues, but yeah, I've been representing or actually attending conferences. Now this is our, yeah, I'm just collaborating in here now. One architect there is now our client. So, and so it's just not to be afraid, and not to think much about yourself. We are hired as architects, we are trained as architects, and to be there. Oh, these are my colleagues. I mean, as you may notice, I'm the only lady within the team. For the past 13 years, I've been working with men. I'm just gonna be the only one within the team that's a woman. But recently, we have a full team of ladies, which I am challenged in a way, because this is the very first time or very first year that I'm working in an all women team. Uh, the difference
Girl
is
power.
really really yeah.
In
Now it's I can see the differences, but at the same time, in the way I speak, I've been called out that I've been very straightforward in the way I give directions or even speak. But learning from all my colleagues in here, you can see all of these guys are all talented. Some of them are now in Germany, Tunisia, and India. So they left the country, and due to COVID as well. So, but at the same time, yeah, meeting all the colleagues and having them all together, being able to have this culture of camaraderie, and that you have the friends everywhere that you can contact anytime. The person in the middle actually is Riaz, and he actually did this background behind me. So I would like to call out on him and thank him now that yeah, he made the background. So that's his 3D visual, and I'm really proud of him. Yeah, I'm just thankful, and I'm always gonna be me. I'm not gonna be I'm not gonna I don't see myself as someone that, the awards goes in my head, but I'm always this approachable. And whenever these awards happen, and whenever it's out in the social media, people or even students from different countries have been contacting me, and as much as possible I would tend to respond to them and give them my advice. And I also visit universities and train interns as of the moment. So yeah, it's a huge responsibility. It's real. I'm really grateful for it, but it's something that I use as a bullet point to really enhance myself more. And yeah, awards is yeah, it's fantastic. Everyone who are shortlisted in that awards are already winners. To be able to, yeah, it's really surreal, and to be in front of you now, it's amazing to see two young architects. I'm calling you architects, so
Architect, how
good.
about your message to inspire future generations of Filipino architects
Architect
like me?
Alan.
I am listening, architect. I will treasure what will you. I will cherish
So,
every word.
sorry, I was distracted by Architect Alan's message.
yes.
What was your question, my dear?
uh, Repeating. What will be your message for the
Mhm.
future generation of Filipino architects?
I think for now, I always tell them, once you graduate, go to, as per experience that I had, I would suggest, do not stop learning. Keep on challenging yourself. Just like if you go after graduation, you go for that licensure examination a lot, 1 hour, 2 hours per day to prepare for something like the licensure examination. Take as much as possible information that you can. Do not be afraid. Get the license, definitely. And Dr. Shaji. Okay. Uh, and I say, once you go in the corporate world, if you wish to go to the corporate world, because there are other options now available for architecture students. If you wish to go to the corporate world, I would suggest go to boutique companies before before selecting big companies. If I may say why, because um just because in boutique companies you'll be trained, um how you will be trained from designing small projects to you be trained from scratch, and you'll be given tasks that is not given and once you enter through a huge company or a prominent company. And that training is actually beneficial. I think what is important now for young architects is to learn that slowing down or having that patience to slow down, or just allotting time for yourself to develop yourself, improve on your skill set, taking each and every opportunity to improve your skill set is actually beneficial for you in the long run. Third is that from years of working in the corporate world, I think it's more than it's almost 17 years for me or 18 years for me working as an architect. So I shouldn't have given that because you will find out my age. But it's just that yeah, 17 years, 18 years of experience. I think what matters is because to understand that the profession is about collaboration, it's about communication. No matter how good you are, how good you are in planning, how good you are in how good skills you have, how good you are in thinking or in presenting or talking, if the character is something that is really, really not great, you won't go anywhere. That's what I've so build on your character, be friendly and tough at the same time, meet all your deadlines, improve on yourself. um yeah, because the business, the architecture profession is consists of it's just a small world. It's a small world, and for now I can see you as hosting this, and for maybe next time we'll be able to work with each other on a project, or maybe Dr.
Looking
Shaji,
forward
we
to
will
that.
definitely see each other because the profession is really a small world. So your character, building on that, and uh, having that character that's actually approachable, and also that character that's very willing to absorb information. Forget about the egos. Architecture is about collaboration and communication. So it's that it's about, well, all of these things merge into one profession. um Another suggestion I would say, aside from yeah, just feel free to ask questions. Most of the interns that I am experiencing recently, they are so afraid to ask questions. These are fresh graduates, and they are afraid to ask questions. Why? When I ask them, is because they would think that they wouldn't know that thing. I don't know, they are so afraid to tell me that they have no idea of the things that I asked them, and they would definitely just sit for the full day and not really ask the questions. But knowing that you're a freshman who enters to the corporate world, asking questions is the way for you to learn. So definitely ask all the smart questions that you can. Be proactive on that one. Be proactive, and feel free to feel free to give in or chip in your ideas. You are part of a group because you are there and you have something to share. So you have to also believe in yourself. Um, I think that's that. Yeah. I think that's it. Nothing else. You have to have your own vision as well at the end of the day that you are actually working towards to. And yeah, remember that the architecture is just a small world, that every person that you get could be one of your colleagues now, that could be your client next week, or they could be someone who would be your jury, things like that. So it is, and now that everything is getting global, so the possibility of someone to be connected with you in the near future is there. So just improve, and always take on that humbleness with you, and be patient. Be patient. I know everyone, the younger generation, are always in a hurry. Patience is really a virtue, and patience, greater things happen. with patience. So after patience, so that's it.
Yes, asking questions is a way to learn. Indeed. Let's forget about egos,
Smart
guys. Don't be
questions.
shy to don't
Smart
be shy
questions.
to yes,
And
Architect Christine.
yeah, smart questions. Sometimes you ask questions like for the sake of asking. Now it's asking smart questions, because
Yes,
asking
smart
questions a lot would
questions.
be annoying as well. So maybe smart questions. Like, I don't know, with Dr. Shaji, if you've got a student who asks questions right away, that would be really annoying.
Necessary questions.
Exactly.
Every day is learning. Be confident, yet keep our faith on the ground, as
That's
what
right.
Architect Christine told us. Thank you very much, Architect Christine. Going back to Dr. Paniker, you were very successful in the field of architecture and also being awarded with the best professor in traditional architecture studies explains how well and effective you are in acting. So, could you tell us what can students look forward to when studying abroad?
Um, can you hear me now? Because somewhere in the middle I lost connection and I was struggling.
Yes.
I was doing all sorts of things with my computer.
Yes,
Now I'm
definitely.
back, thankfully. So you can hear me, right?
It's
Yes,
clear,
definitely.
yes po.
Yeah. See, the thing is, one is when we used to think of going abroad, those were different times. Those were times where we didn't know what it was to be like abroad. We didn't. There were no YouTube channels to tell us how Australia is or how Adelaide is, or maybe there were, but internet was slow, and we to connect it was like sometimes you get connected and then they had those modems which used to make those funny noises. I don't know, Christine, if you remember, those kind of world we are coming from, where getting connected itself was a big challenge, and
Yes.
to maintain that connection, we had to rely on
Dial
the
ups.
dial-ups, those funny noises they would make, and the kind of you know challenges that were totally different. Now you have your mobile, you're connected directly. So
Yes.
there were no mobiles, so it was a different world. So there used to be a lot of planning we had to do a lot of planning to even think about going outside. But now with all these tools and with all these information out there literally on your fingertips, you can choose. You are in a better position to negotiate what you want. So I think you should be taking advantage of such technology, and try to talk to people whom you're trying to go. Is, let's say, you're trying to go to the US or Canada or wherever, or the UK, for instance. I'm sure that you could connect with some of your seniors there, or some of your, you have WhatsApp groups, you have so many other groups now. You could, if I were you, I would connect with people there and ask them, hey, how's living there? Do I have to work in the petrol station to survive? How will I support myself? These are the questions which come into reality when you go leave your house, the comfort of your house, and go and start living alone. You have to fend for yourself, you have to sometimes cook for yourself. Visa is on your head, the time is limited, you cannot renew it if you don't have enough proof or money and stuff like that. So there are so many constraints. Suddenly you will realize that life is not so easy. You need to work harder, you need to maintain. And yeah, and that's also kind of learning experience, because it helps you become a better person, because you tend to become more organized in life. You tend to understand deadlines better. It's not like you don't understand deadlines now in architecture school, but you are being taken care of by your parents. When you go home, there's food on the table, right? And you can work late night, and your mom might come up with a cup of coffee. Have this. It might help you. But when you're out there, there's no food on the table when you go back. When you go back, you have to cook, or you have to buy whatever, you know. And that makes you an organized person. That puts pressure on you to think in an organized manner. So I think going abroad now is easier with the world literally opening up. I agree to what Christine has said, the globe has shrunk. We know about many people, many cultures now more than ever. We know how people will react, what the language is. So I was chatting with Alan, and he said, can you say salamat? I said, okay, I can say salamat. So he's teaching me some Filipino words, and I was teaching him some Hindi words, and stuff like that, which was unimaginable. Can you imagine that happening 20 years ago? How would I know who Alan is? For instance, so things have changed, times have moved on, and strangely, human beings are the reason why we still dominate this planet is because we can adapt faster than any other creature, I think. So whatever is thrown to us, we adapt, and that's the big uh, you know um, what is it called? It's the big promise of humanity, I think, in a way that we have survived and we will always survive, regardless of what comes, whether COVID or whatever it is. But I think the fact that we are always trying to better ourselves, um, with, of course, with our foot on ground. So the thing about humility, what Christine said, it's very important to understand where you're coming from. Okay, don't forget your roots, or your culture or tradition. People tend to change when they go out, and some people change so drastically that they even start looking different, and it is shocking sometimes. Their accents change, there's so many things change. I'm not saying it won't happen, it happens. When you stay in a place for a long time, you do change, because as a human being also you're getting uh, 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 you're becoming different, you're meeting different people. So allow all that to happen. Allow all the surprise of life to hit you, and react to it as a more mature person. And of course, studies is one part, managing things is one part, but also socializing, meeting people, keeping your heart open for all sorts of culture, all sorts of language, all sorts of things that might come to you, will help you grow as a person, I think. And don't get demotivated if some racial remark happens. It happens. The world is not perfect, nobody is perfect. We have our biases, I have my biases, as much as you will have your biases. So just understand that somebody's day was not good, and he or she had to pour it out on someone, and you happen to be the one whom he or she gave it. So just feel happy that you helped someone. Think about it that way. Somebody said something bad to you, but you helped him or her to vent it out on you, and you received it. Become a sponge, receive it. Don't give it back because it's not good, it's not necessary. Take it and move on, because we have other things to do, right? Life is short, we have so many things to
Yeah.
do. So always believe in that. And we are architects, okay? We are gods. Don't record it. You're not gods. We're almost there. We know things, and there's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things to do for us human beings. So we cannot just get stuck because of some small thing that might have happened. Move on quickly, because so many things to do, right?
Yes, make the most of your network, guys. Life is not easy. Take advantage of technology. Planning is the key. Next question for both of our architects. Since burnouts have been a very common issue to all of us during this pandemic, how do you, as a professional, cope with this? Architect Christine?
Burnt out. I think that's one word that's not no that's that burnout. I couldn't be burnt out. You know why? Because first, I'm a mom. So there's no way that I
There's no
would find
excuse.
myself to be burnt out. Um and also, yeah, cope with coffee probably. But I think they say I drink lots of coffee. But yeah, I see that when things get very stressful, that's when the carry cool, yeah. Promotion, Dr. Saji.
Starbucks will give me free coffee now.
That's right. I should have had my cup with me. Anyways, but burnt out is one term that I haven't really used for quite some time, or even never. I would, whenever it's stressful, I see it as a challenge. Um, and whenever it happens to me, I tend to make myself more busy, where I don't know if I that's how I react to tight deadlines. The more tight my deadline is, particularly nowadays, our clients are much more clever. What happens like 10 years ago, where the clients would allow us a specific time frame for projects to be delivered, now is actually shorter. Why? Primarily because we have technology with us, and technology has allowed us to add in a lot of data in all our presentations and all the projects, and the clients already understood this, and the clients are well traveled, so now they are specifically asking for a lot of deliverables within the amount of time. So that happens, and that's where we get really stressed. When it happens within the team, because they know me, and whenever I'm stressed, I always smile. Yeah. So now I'm smiling, but I'm not really stressed. But that's how I cope up with being stressed. And they would often see that I would say, you have no sleep at all, but you're still smiling. I think that's one trait that I actually learned from growing up in Tondo. That no matter how difficult my life in there, or no matter how difficult life is, there's always a reason to smile, and there's always a reason to look things at positive way. And I'm always looking at the positive sides and looking at this, just like sabi nga ni Catriona Gray. So I grew up in the slums of Tondo, and I always see the silver lining.
It's
so,
fitting.
so that's
Speaking of
definitely,
Tondo.
no, definitely. You get to see that silver lining, and in the middle of stress. So burnt out necessarily doesn't is not a word that I am really using, because yeah, being a mother as well, at the same time being an architect, it adds up to that level of challenge on my everyday life, and particularly now that I'm in the management. Although I'm in the management and the senior position, but at the same time I'm also working directly on projects, not just one, and sometimes several projects at a time. And at the end of the day, I come home with to be a wife and also a parent to both of my kids. Burnt out is something that's already part of my life, and that is something that I consider normal. Otherwise, if everything is smoothly flowing, then that actually is boring for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally agree.
it's everything. Yeah, exactly. So everything is that comes easy. I don't know, just like what happened during the quarantine time last year. We were all stuck at home, and I was really finding things on what to do, and I was I need to do this and that, and that enables me. Okay, there are free tutorials, there are free trainings, there are free certificates, there are competitions that I was able to join. So I did that because I don't want to waste the time that I'm given, that extra time that I got from being at home, staying at home, not being able to travel. Just wake up and do your thing. That's actually great, and that's actually an additional thing. So yeah, I think it's the way we treat stress on how you react to it. You have the choice, we have the choice to see it negatively or see it positively. Whichever choice you make, whatever makes you happier, I think that's just go for it. If you feel like venting out to someone else,
If
I'm
it
not
helps.
suggesting do so, but I think we all would just select something that would help ourselves. So that's that. And also, yeah, a cup of coffee, Starbucks. If we're gonna do promotion or Starbucks, why not? Coffee
I
helps.
really agree. Like companions and friends are do really play a great role in this.
Mm.
Like basically your support system. And as also don't, I think the key here is don't mix, you know how, you should know how to mix, do not mix work from home, or you should know how to
Ah,
discern things which is for this one, and you should know how to separate the things that aren't.
Compartmentalize.
Yes.
so
Yeah.
actually now it's
Compartmentalizes.
happening na? With students actually learning from home and parents working from home. There's a mix in that part now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
actually happening. And that's a reality which we can all learn from and which I think should be part
Adapt.
of the new normal. Um, it might not be ideal, but it happens, but then it's not for the long run. So just
Mm.
make the most out of it. Yeah.
How about Dr. Saji? What can you say about this? How do you cope up with your stress and work and in this pandemic, in this whole pandemic?
Vent out
Well,
on students.
that's a picture of me. This is with a friend of mine who was learning guitar. He's a guitarist. He was in the Adelaide Conservatory and he was learning not Adelaide, Newcastle Conservatory, and he was learning guitar. And we used to sometimes go out like this. But yeah, this doesn't explain the way I am. I don't generally go out. When I'm stressful. Um, I tend to listen to music. I draw and I withdraw. I withdraw. We are all different. I withdraw and I think a lot, and then I try to find the root cause. What is it that I'm suffering from? And it's always a problem because especially when you're married and other things. Your family is expecting you to be cheerful all the time, but sometimes life gives you throws things at you, and you sometimes have to go silent. So sometimes I go silent and I draw. I just pick up the pen and my sketchbook and draw, and think while I'm drawing. Might be a doodle, might be totally meaningless, but it's something that drawing is something which I use as an escape mechanism to come out of whatever situation I might be in. And painting, of course. But the problem with painting is that I then get into painting, and which is another problem. Oh, okay, there's her. That's my wife. So painting is something I get into, and yes, I paint my wife a lot. Alan might have told you. I'm not sure. But she is the permanent model that I'm married to now. So her painting, her drawings are everywhere in this room. So yeah, that's what I do. Basically, I
Also,
think
the
always.
thing that I pick up on this is,
Yeah, what I tend to think is, it's a passing phase. It's a phase which will go, and I want to do greater things. I want to do not greater by in terms of any standard, but something that I feel that there's more to do. More stuff to do than brood over it. So that thought then throws me out of that situation, and then I go around doing things. Yeah.
I think the one that I pick up on this is know what your capabilities, and know what you are, what relaxes you, what things are helpful to you when you get stressed, so you won't have to be burnout and go depressed on one thing. And especially you have to look forward every day, because the day to day is not the same as tomorrow. There's always new things to be happen, to going to be
Yeah.
happen. And that's it. Thank you, Dr. Saji. And before we proceed to the last question, let's check out the questions in the comment section sent by our listeners. And here's a question from Erneziel Urbano. Did you, to both of our architects, did you experience discrimination when applying for work for the first time as an architect overseas? And if they did, how did they cope up with it?
Should I start? Yeah.
Yeah, Christian, you go first.
Discrimination in applying for work. I don't think there would be, because once the company would call you, that means no, you wouldn't experience discrimination. I for myself did not experience that. I think yeah, prior to applying here, I had years of experience in the Philippines. So I and prior to applying in here, I've also worked on projects here in Dubai already. This because I was working for an international company, and at the time we had several projects here in the Middle East. So that wasn't yeah, it was tough in a way that of course I had to speak a different language as compared to being in the Philippines where I can speak my own language, and
Mm.
I didn't have the language barrier at the time, and even up to now I'll be able to express myself. But it's discrimination. I don't think it will happen when you apply directly, when you apply, and the time that you are called to be in the interview. I don't think any company would discriminate you just to ask you to come in and discriminate you in directly. I don't think that happens, and that's not really professional. And
Mm.
architecture companies, and also particularly education, it's about professional level. You don't experience,
Yeah.
you might yeah, it's nah, it doesn't really happen. Where was the part of the question? Yeah, that application, that wasn't, it's just about you, it's just about myself, or it's just about you presenting yourself very well and convincing who the interviewee is. um you have to be honest. And yeah, discrimination, no, not really. I don't think so. uh yeah, I didn't have that. Oh, but not really discriminated. But sometimes I've been it's not really discrimination, but there are times that I've been questioned because I look younger than my age, which is I mentioned earlier. So they would think that I'm a fresh graduate, and I know. So what can I do? My genes, parents' genes are amazing. But yeah, I think it's the more about the way you handle yourself in front of the whoever is interviewing you, and the way you handle yourself, you'd be able to present that you're actually knowledgeable about the profession. I don't think you go or gonna get any discrimination after that. And knowing it's a professional, you're applying as a professional, you are in return expecting professional treatment. Discrimination, no, no, not really. With within the companies that I've worked on, no, I don't think.
Yeah. No, even I haven't directly
Yeah.
experienced discrimination, because I think the world is now. Of course, there are people who will always uh, think about race and about color and
Mm,
this and that and all that. But like I said, just become the sponge and absorb it and move on, because there are other things to do. And in a professional life, in the life of a teacher, for instance, you are trying to impart whatever little you know to those who are interested. And in that, I mean, I don't think discrimination plays a big role, or it doesn't play any role as such. I mean, for instance, we come across students from all sorts of status in society and all sorts of types. And if we start discriminating, what will happen. Teaching will go to dogs, basically. So that never happens. We consider
mm,
them equal, because they are all at least equally capable. And then it depends on somebody's interest, how far she or he can take the design is a different thing altogether. Some are studios like Christine, some are not studios like me. But but then the whole idea is to instill
mm,
professionalism in their minds, to tell them that they are going to be responsible for so many things in life. So might as well start taking things seriously, in
mm,
terms of culture, in terms of tradition, whatever it is. And then once you like, because we tend to know many things, it is a humbling experience, to be honest, to know that there are so many of us on this planet, and we are all in a way very similar, but with those subtle differences, we become very different. Language, culture, color, dressing sense, food habits, everything changes. but at the same time we are humans. So it's a very humbling experience to know that we are one of us. It's a beautiful thing. And when you have that feeling, discrimination doesn't come in the way then, because then you think of all of us as one, which is a great feeling, really.
Mm. And
Yeah.
knowing in UAE actually is composed of different nationalities.
Yes.
Would you know that the locals here, the population of people, the expats is higher than the locals. So
Yeah.
there it's very global. So once you get in here, even in the universities, it's a mix of different nationalities. It's a way of life already. So there's nothing new with it. And coming into any profession or any corporate offices or even in the education part, it's global. So
Mm.
everyone is aware that everyone comes from different countries. So it's you're not really seen as someone from this country. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
so
the
no
other thing
discrimination.
you need to understand is also the business side of it. For instance, when you're applying to universities which are abroad, see, the fact that they want international students is also for them to tell to the rest of the world and their competitors that, look, we have students from India, we have students from Russia, we have students from China, we have students from the Philippines, we have students from Japan, and it's basically a muscle flexing exercise by that university, saying that, look how powerful we are. We are able to get students from
Mm,
all over this place. So I think they are also, it's a win-win situation. Like if you are paying money to go there, they are also getting something out of it. They are not, of course, they are imparting knowledge, but the fact that they are also adding on to that, uh, you know, the complex nature of different nationalities and others inside that university makes them more powerful than other universities in a way, right? So being global is much more required now than it is almost a necessity now. You can't be in a hole sitting, and thinking and brooding about life when things are moving so fast around you. So you need to be part of it. Yeah.
Oh, I read this comment from by Ernie Zell. I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but rest assured that it will get better. Come here. No, but honestly, yeah, it's the way you respond to these people. Just hang in there. No worries. You'll get the job, and yeah, we shouldn't be discriminated by the way we look, or yeah, it's yeah, maybe that place where you're applying, that's not the place for you,
Yeah,
so move on
yeah.
to
Think of
other.
it that way. It's
Yeah.
better not to get there. In fact,
Mm.
so you move on to a better
Move on
place
there,
where
or yeah, exactly.
don't get stuck with because that somebody remarked. Like I said, become a
Mm.
sponge and move on. Say that,
Mm.
okay,
Yeah.
fine, you don't deserve me. It's not like I don't deserve and you don't deserve me really, and move on.
Angela, Jess.
And that answers Mr. Urbana's question. And
Yeah,
I think he was inspired by your
I
answer
think
with
she I
architects.
think
It's a
she
she.
is she's wearing a
It's,
headscarf, so
it's a
she
she.
is, yeah,
Oh,
she
she,
is.
she, she.
I think
Mm.
she,
And also, we recognize the presence of Architect Alan, Ma'am Lutek, Christine's family, of course, and the rest
Yeah,
of the
thank you.
viewers that are here with us and continue to listen with us in this
Mm.
podcast. Also, architects, do you have final takeaways for the viewers? Any last advices you can say?
I think I've been yeah, aspiring any tips aspiring professionals study abroad or fresh archi graduate who like to pursue our architecture experience abroad in the future. By all means, widen your options. If you feel that that's something that you want to pursue, then do it and try it. Don't limit yourselves. If working abroad is an option. I've got friends who actually worked here for a few years and then went back to Philippines or even going to other countries. Just widen everything as that you can reach, and just do it. Um, yeah. Any tips? keep once you're outside of the Philippines, keep the culture that you have. Don't be afraid to be a Filipino anywhere. Be proud of your background as a Filipino. Um, yeah, and as well, yeah, the character that you bring in reflects to each and every one of our kabayans, and we are all known to smile a lot, especially yeah. I know, right, Dr. Shaji? Architect Alan might be, what it is to bring out. Just be friendly. You are there for some reason. You go outside of the country, experience everything. Challenge yourself, experience, gain as much as information as you can. If you wish at the end to work back in the Philippines, by all means do so. But make sure that you had that vision with you and you have that dream. Just hold on, and also bring a lots of prayers, because it's not easy to be outside of your comfort zone. To jump on from one country to another, there's a different culture. To get that, I think it's everything is just a learning experience. So, um, tips: it's just be yourself, and as well continue to improve yourself, and don't forget the culture that you're brought up with. Be proud of being a Filipino, or be proud of your nationality, and don't be afraid to step up, or even give out your ideas, and just smile. I think that's it. And be grateful for everything. I think I lead the floor to you, Dr. Shaji.
Dr.
Yeah,
Shaji?
I think just remain humble. I think
Mm,
that does it most of the times, and be curious about everything and everyone. Not in a negative manner, but be curious. Be always a learner. I always consider myself a student, even if I'm associate professor or whatever it is. Because I think learning is an endless thing. You don't you you have to learn. You have to learn constantly. So if learning is your motive, and if you are going to learn, you will naturally remain humble, because there's so much more to know. There's a Chinese saying. I think somebody even attributes it to Aristotle, saying that the more you know, the more you know how little you know. So that's what I live by. So we think we know, but there are so many things. It's just so many. It's such a complex world, and so many things we don't know. So if that is your desire, then I think that will lead you wherever you want to go.
Also, maybe you would like to share your to our viewers your websites or social media accounts or upcoming virtual events, if
should I
there is
start?
any.
Yeah.
Yes, you
Okay.
should as well.
So I will be a guest speaker for the Green Building Summit this year. I will be able to share the link though, but you can go to PhilGBC, Philippine Green Building Council website. As of now, there is a green buildings conference that's currently happening. I will be part of episode 11, which features the specialists, and I will discuss together with the director of Department of Science and Technology, Development Academy of the Philippines, and some other guest panelists from globally international professionals who are into sustainability. Um, Also, my Facebook account. If anyone, I've got students reaching out to me. I'm available. In my Facebook account is Madam Architect 00, and then Instagram is also Madam Architect. I have the website, but I haven't really gone back to it because I've been it's really been tough and quite busy recently. But that's the website that I have. It's actually, yeah, I think it's in here. Yeah, and thank you for Rias Alcandi, who actually made the virtual background. I actually mentioned that earlier, but thank you so much for that. It's really nice. He actually rendered this. Look at that. So there you go. It looks like a picture, but he's amazing. Um, that's it. If anyone would like to reach out, and yeah, as much as possible, if I have time, I would really respond directly. So feel free, and thank you so much, UAPGA Santa Mesa. Thank you so much, Architect Alan, for 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 reaching out to
bringing
us
this.
and also exactly connecting us, and hopefully next time you'll be in here. You've been setting us up in front, and it's a pleasure meeting you, Dr. Shaji, and I do hope that one of these days I'll meet you personally. Maybe I'll visit my Manipal University sometime soon, but let's see. But it's a pleasure to be in here and with all of you. Thank you all.
Same here, Christian. It's a pleasure to have met you. And definitely, there'll be occasions where I will call you for jury. Like I said, I teach the first years, and I definitely need someone who's sensitive to the first years because it's a different group. We are not. They are very fresh. They don't know, and they don't know what they are getting into. So we need to be very sensitive to how they speak and what they tell. And
Hmm.
I'll definitely invite you for one of the juries.
No worries. I'll be
Uh,
available for that.
Thanks, thanks. And I don't see. I have Facebook account. I have Instagram, and I just recently realized I even have Twitter. It's just that whenever all these things came, so I would just quickly go and open an account, and then what I do is funny. I post things, and then I don't go back.
Forget about it.
I post things, and once in a while the mobile shouts that or gets a bell, somebody likes or somebody likes or somebody comments, and I'm quite pathetic with keeping up with the social things. So I do have Instagram account, and I did post something during the pandemic when I was hit by corona, so I had to be inside my room, and that's when I started my YouTube channel also. It
Okay.
started, and it was
Oh,
Alright. I think
Dr.
we lost
Shaji, your
connection,
connection. Yeah.
Dr. Shaji.
am I visible, audible?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so those things are there, but I'll have to search, and probably I'll forward it to Alan, and he will forward it to you. So, but my Facebook, so you can go on Facebook. You can share that. Instagram, I think it is Shaji21775.
Okay.
Uh, that's my Instagram. So that's my birthday. So that's what it is. You know my age now, so I
How
don't
about
need
TikTok? Just kidding.
the
TikTok.
TikTok.
and I can't claim
And
like
that's it.
Christina as
You
this
can
younger.
go
No,
and check
actually,
them out, guys.
yeah, actually, Dr. Shaji, that would be interesting to have your drawings and paintings. And why not TikTok, Dr. Shaji?
Yes.
Try it out. I don't have it though, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Even I don't have it. I don't know. No, if I get into it, my mobile, it will be one more thing which I will get in and then I'll forget. And then,
Yeah,
and with so many passwords, how do we remember? At one point I had the same
I
password
totally,
for everything.
I get you,
And
I get
then,
you.
yeah, it's crazy. There's so many other things to do. And I don't know, once you get into this Facebook, you just go inside deeper and you get lost. I would be happy to get lost physically in a city. At least I'm discovering new things. Here, I'm discovering who had a party and who had a child and who is going around with whom. And I don't want to know that. It's all right.
This is yeah, definitely not for everyone, but yeah, exactly. But it's actually
Yeah,
fun. Anyways, that means you have extra time. That means you can also get into TikTok. So we'll wait for that TikTok account.
that'll be
We'll
dangerous.
wait for your TikTok.
We're looking
Anyways,
forward,
thanks
Dr.
for
Shaji.
having me.
We're looking
I have
forward
to
to
thank you.
it. Again, we would like to thank our guest, Architect Christine Espinosa Irlanda and Dr. Saji Paniker for lending us your time tonight. We are very grateful and honored for you to be here. Your experience and stories have been very inspiring for everyone. And would you like to say good to bid goodbye to our viewers, or maybe a
I
little?
think Dr. Shaji can say it in Tagalog or
Yes.
Yes, we
I'd
challenge
like to
Dr.
hear it.
Saji to say bid goodbye in Tagalog.
No, that will be just let me open WhatsApp and see what Alan has written.
Any Tagalog words, Dr. Shaji?
I will tell you. Wait. He told me something that should crack you up, apparently.
Oh
you know.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure that out. Where is it? Ah, yeah, yeah.
We hope
So he told
someday.
me, sakto lang.
Sakto
Sakto lang.
Sakto lang.
It apparently means just enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have
exactly.
a
That's
Hindi, we have something similar in Hindi where we say bus, not the bus that moves. Bus means enough, you know. But
Oh,
it's
that's
said in
something
a
that I can.
colloquial,
Oh, that's something
in
that
a
I can use. Okay.
yeah. You can tell your when the Indian colleagues if they keep talking bus,
So I always say, I was told about kachara.
kachra. Oh no, that is garbage.
I know, right? So, oh, this is kachara. So, things like that. But anyways, magandang
Yeah,
gabi po. I think Dr. Shaji, you can just say, magandang gabi for good evening. Magandang gabi.
magandang gabi.
Yes, perfect. And
Ah,
salamat po.
interesting. And salamat, salamat. Thank you,
Yes, yes. I think
thank
same
you,
same
Yes.
for me. Magandang gabi, good evening to everyone. Thank you for listening and maraming salamat po.
thank
All
you guys. Thanks
right.
for having us.
Thank you again, Architect
Yes.
Christine and Dr. Shaji. Goodbye and see you soon. And we hope to be working with you again. All right. We'd like to thank everyone who has joined us, mga nanood, mga nakitambay. We hope you get to learn so much from their experiences. Maybe it will help you one day in deciding to pursue your architectural careers abroad. Before anything else, we'd like to announce that UAPGA membership drive for 2021-2022 is still open. This membership comes with perks and benefits. You get discounted rates in UAPGA events, UAPGA merchandise, you get free access in all UAPGA seminars and lectures, access to UAPGA e-library, wow, this is new, exclusive discounts with UAPGA partners, and partner review center, especially if magbo-boards ka, di ba? Kaya grab nyo na to, guys. You get to have discounted rates with ArcStudio. List this down. Foundree, JPT Review Center, incorporated in Ramdex review and seminars. Also, you get to interact with UAP professionals. Network is a must, guys. So grab yours today. Membership is open until October 1 only.
And that's it for our second episode. I hope this podcast added value to our listeners out there. You may check out and follow our official social media accounts flashing on the screen for more updates, and like and follow our official Facebook page and on Instagram at uapga.santa mesa, and on Twitter at uapga santa mesa, and of course subscribe and connect with us through our official YouTube channel, uapga santa mesa official. If you haven't heard of our past episode and would like to catch up on our next episodes, feel free to listen to our Spotify podcast, Archillax.
All right. Again, this episode was brought to you by Davies Paints Philippines Incorporated in partnership with KLIK Media Group, DALA Manila, by BRB, artcaravan.ph, and Rivers Drinkware. Also, our national partners, ArcStudio, Foundree, JPT Review Center, and Ramdex Review and Seminars. Once again, this has been your host. I am Jazz.
And I am Angela, and this is UAPGA Archillax podcast. Thank you for chilling with us, and see you on the next episodes. Have a good night. Bye, guys. Thank you.